guys, my name is Alicia Lea and welcome to part 2 of the beginning of my childhood trauma saga. If you haven't watched part 1, make sure you click on the link that's in the description below and watch that one first. Otherwise you're going to be super confused and have no idea what's going on. In this video, I'm going to talk about how bio dad met step monster, where my biological mom went, and how the lock came to be on the bedroom door. And with that being said, please make sure that you aren't watching this if you're not in a very good headspace. This can be very triggering. It can bring up a lot. I know that it brings up a lot for me to talk about it to you, so I can understand if it would be difficult for some of you to watch this. So please just kind of, gauge your own emotions and decide if this is something that you'd be able to handle. It doesn't get too graphic, too gory, anything like that. Some things are more triggering for other people. I also do want to say that if you are a victim of abuse or if you know someone who is struggling, please report it to your local authorities. Even if you just have a gut instinct, just follow that and report it, because it is better to report it and be wrong than to not report it and be right. So now that all of that's out of the way, we're gonna get started. Now, to pick up where we left off in my last video, my bio dad got full custody of myself, my twin sister, and my biological sister. He got the house, so my childhood home, and then my mom went and moved into an apartment, so she was just right around the corner for a couple of years. So when he moved back in, it was very much like a honeymoon phase again, where he's just really fun. Like, he spent a lot of time with us. He got us all bikes, he got us a puppy, he got all of this new kitchen stuff that he wanted to use, so we stayed up all night on a school night one night and just made a bunch of like cookies and cake and cupcakes, and like we just thought that this is how it's gonna be all the time. Like, wow, dad's super fun and he really loves us and things are really different. And the reason I say things are really different is because before the divorce, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in my last video, but he was never around. He was always at work, like all the time. And the thing is people say, oh, well, people have to work to provide for their families. And while I understand that, you also need to prioritize your family. But he was self-employed, so he made his own schedule. He did everything on his own time, so he very easily could have spent time with us. He just chose not to. So it was so crazy to us that during the divorce and then during this now where he's living with us, he's wanting to spend time with us. And so we're all really excited because now he's like number one dad and he wants to do all these things. And it just, as a kid, like, that's great and that's all you want. Now, with that being said, I'm going to tell you what happened with my biological mom and where she was throughout the majority of our childhood, but I do want to make it very well known before I tell you that she is a victim in this story. She's not a villain. So any negativity or any hate comments or anything like that will just be deleted and you'll just be blocked. I'm not going to tolerate any of it because we don't blame her for her decision. We don't hold it against her. So I don't want to hear it from you. But anyways, she moved out of state to get away from my biological dad. And I know that some of you are going to be thinking that you could never do something like that, but the mental state that she was in, I am very grateful that she chose to leave the state instead of doing something else. And I'm sure that a lot of you can read between the lines and go with that. But she had to get away from him because all she ever wanted was to be a mom, and he would just dangle us in front of her. And she was a really good mom and she took really good care of us, and he didn't want to let her do that anymore. He didn't want her to be around. He only let her have us if it was her court mandated time. That was all she got, even to the extent that if we were sick and we couldn't go to school, he would take us to our sick grandmother's house or to his brother's house, who we very rarely spent any time with, and would leave us there rather than take us to her house when she was just right around the corner working from home and very easily could have taken care of us. He didn't want to do that. He needed to have control over the situation. So she just got to the point after a couple of years where she couldn't take that anymore and she had to do what was best for her. And so she moved out of state with the person that she was dating at the time. And we would go visit her for the entire summer, and we would go visit her on different school breaks. We would go see her every other holiday. So we made it work, and she was still there for us. She got us cell phones when we were 12 just so we could call her, because the house phone that we had at the house didn't call long distance. So she paid for cell phones, that way she could text us and talk to us whenever we wanted to talk to her. So she made it work, and it wasn't like she just packed her stuff up and left us and was just like, see ya. That's not what happened. She needed to get out and she needed to get away from him. And like I said, we don't blame her for it. And I am very grateful that she chose to make that decision instead of choosing to do something else. Now we're gonna get into how my bio dad met my stepmonster. They met at a country bar in downtown Salt Lake, and if you're from downtown Salt Lake, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And it's the same country bar that he met my biological mom at. So do with that information what you will. I think that's hilarious. And so they started dating, and it seems like it went fairly quickly. I mean, looking as an adult, like they dated for a few months, and then they got in like about a year they got engaged, and then they were married. So I think that they weren't even together for 2 years yet before they got married. I have made my own poor life choices that are, we'll say, for a different video, but like looking at it now, like I don't think I could do that ever again. I can never get married at less than 2 years ever again. Like I said, different video, it's not this video. Anyways, so the way that he had us set up in this room was we had 2 bunk beds on each side, so like one set on each side, and then we had a little toddler bed for my youngest stepsister to sleep in. And we were in that room for a while. I think I stayed in there for about 2 years before we moved into the downstairs basement when he had finished it, and my twin sister and myself shared a twin mattress on the floor of what would be her bedroom, which I'll go more into that in my next video, but just to kind of give you a little bit of a timeline there. So we all stayed in there. My stepbrother had his own bedroom, and it's just because, you know, you can't put boys and girls together. I know that if you're coming from TikTok that you saw that we were a live, laugh, love Mormon family, and she is the one who brought the Mormonism into our house. And my bio dad, like his family was kind of Mormon. Like my aunt went to church, and she would take us sometimes when we were, but like during the divorce when we would stay at my grandma's, she would make us all go to church with her. But my stepmom is the one who really like influenced that and pushed that into our household. It was just so ironic when you guys get to the end of this. You can't even believe it. Anyways, she brought that into our house and decided that we were all going to be this picture perfect Mormon family. So we started having to go to church every Sunday. We couldn't do anything except go to church. And we had to, you know, dress modestly, and we ended up getting baptized. I think I got baptized at 12 because I just wanted to be accepted into her family and what she wanted us to do. And so that's what we thought she wanted. So my sisters and I ended up getting baptized, and we were going to church. And she's one of those, you know, she was very devout Mormon. Like she wore the temple garments and everything. And that's just how she wanted us to live our life, and that's how he wanted us to be portrayed as well, to fit her little fantasy. This is when things kind of start to get a little dark. So again, with the trigger warning, if you're not in a good headspace, don't watch past this part. After 6 months, that's when this starts to get really dark. My youngest sister, stepsister, even though she had her own bed in our room, she very rarely slept in it because she co-slept with her mom. And so one night after about 6 months, they decided that she wasn't going to be doing that anymore, and she was going to sleep in her own bed. I don't think that my stepmonster decided this. I think that my bio dad did. And they put a lock on their bedroom door to lock her out, and they would put her to bed, and she would go sit in the hallway, and she would scream and cry for her mom to the point that she either threw up or she fell asleep in the hallway just waiting for her. And they're like, with this, she's not stopping after 20, 30 minutes. Like this would go on for hours until she couldn't like physically cry anymore. She would cry for her mom. And I just don't know how as a parent you could do that to your child, is know that they're in the hallway screaming and crying for you and you just have the door locked. I don't believe in the cry it out method. Don't come for me. I don't have kids. I don't want kids. We'll get more into that later. But I think that has some lasting trauma, and I could never imagine doing that to another human being. And so anyways, they would lock her out, and she would sit and she would cry. And that went on for a little while. I don't remember exactly how long. I don't think it was that long, probably less than a month of them trying it this way before they decided they were just going to put a lock on the outside of our bedroom door so we couldn't leave our room, because then she'd be locked in our room and not out in front of their bedroom door so he could sleep, because he got sick of hearing her cry. And so what they would do is they'd make us all go to the bathroom, and then they would have us go to bed. And he would put her in her bed, and then they would go out, they would lock our door, and we would not be able to leave until they woke up in the morning. Now, I've had some of you comment on my TikToks saying that you have a lock on the outside of your child's bedroom door, and I'm just going to say, even if I've said differently before, now the more that I really think about it and the more that I relive this trauma, so to speak, I don't see any type of justifiable reason to have a lock on the outside of your child's door. You can use a baby gate, you can use child locks, you can use locks on the doors that lead to the outside, you can lock cabinets and keep unsafe items in them. You don't need to lock your child in their bedroom. There is just, to me, there's no reason for it. And I can't even begin to describe to you the lasting trauma that I have experiencing that situation. And I wasn't even in that room nearly as long as my younger siblings were. So I just want to put that out there. There's no reason. There's no justifiable reason to have a lock on the outside of your child's bedroom door. You shouldn't be locking your kids in anything. You shouldn't be locking them in their room. It's unacceptable. It's abuse, and you can't change my mind about it. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. I'm truly just blown away by how many people want to actually hear my story, and I feel awful for those of you that can relate to it, but you're all strong, you're all valid, and you all matter. And don't let anybody tell you that you're crazy and that you're being over dramatic and just making this up, including yourself, because I know that I do that and I don't want you to do it. So just remember that you're important and you're valid, and these things that happen to you, they don't define you. And I love you and I care about you, and thank you so much for watching, and thank you for wanting to hear my story and for giving me the strength and the courage to tell my story to so many people. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and stay tuned for part 3. Well, I guess it's going to be called The Middle. I don't know how I'm going to do it yet, but stay tuned for it. You'll know as soon as it pops up. Thanks for watching. Bye.